We were just talking about, it's difficult being as good looking as I am, it's like, it's because you never really know when somebody wants to talk to me because they actually value me as a human being versus just like, oh, I want to talk to that hot guy.
Yeah. Look beyond.
You must have that problem as well.
All the time. But you got to like remove the glasses and then get the intimidation factor down.
That's right.
Blue steel a bit.
Well, we're both married to very attractive women. And
That's right.
How did we accomplish that?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
Yeah,
my wife was just checking on have we begun? Oh, okay.
We've begun, yeah.
My wife was just checking on the life insurance policy.
Yes.
I was like, uh-oh, what's going on?
Yeah. Welcome to another edition of I Hate Simkin. I am stoked. I don't say that word very often. I'm stoked to have somebody I've known for quite a long time, Mr. Grant Lawrence, sitting across from me.
30 years, if 30 years, if a minute. So is there more intro or can I just launch into my pre-story of Jonathan Simkin?
I was going to start with trying to figure out how I first met you.
Yeah, well, let's give context of first why you even have me here.
Okay, so Grant currently is a on-air celebrity at CBC. You host the Top 10 show? Is that what it's
Top
called?
20.
Top
CBC
20
Music
show?
Top 20.
Well, you added another 10. It was top 10. Now you've added. Next thing it's going to be top 30, top 40. Then where do we draw the line?
It's top 20. And the reason, because it started off as the CBC Radio 3 Top 30, and it was just kind of the flow of having two threes in the title. And then we moved over to Radio 2. So we changed it to the top 20. But then Radio 2 changed to CBC Music.
So if it was Radio 1, it would be top 10.
I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's the CBC Music Top 20. I've done that show now for about 5 years. Airs 4 times a week all over the CBC.
But you've been at CBC for a long time.
I've been at the CBC for like 28 years.
Is that right?
Something like that. 27 years, something.
And before that, and I don't want to step on your story, but
No.
But before that, I was thinking about it, obviously, going into this podcast. I believe the first time I was aware of Grant Lawrence was because I was the lawyer for Mint Records.
Yeah.
A very well-known independent record label in Vancouver. I will get more into that. But that's my first memory was that I did a contract for Mint for your band, The Smugglers.
Yeah, and several contracts. And it was in that building, the Dominion building down in downtown Vancouver on Cambie and Hastings.
Yep.
Where we both had offices. And
because you worked at Mint, you weren't just signed as an artist, you also worked there as a promo guy.
I was one of the owners too. I had a small share in the company. And
I should know that since we did some corporate law for them, but I didn't know that.
And when I say small, I mean small. But no, but it was a great time because that was the 90s. It was kind of like our 60s. And so I remember that we knew you before you did anything in music, where you had your immigration law office upstairs, and it was like Better Call Saul in there, where there were just people. There was Hondurans and there was Fijians and there was Syrians, and they were all stuffed into this kind of Art Deco waiting room where, they were paying you in chickens and just anything to get into Canada.
Yes.
And it was this incredible multicultural melting pot in your waiting room, languages from all over the place. And you discovered that there was a record company in the building, and you met Bill Baker, one of the owners, in the elevator, Bill being the real gregarious one. And you would come down to our office. And I remember, because the heat was on in your office, and you would come down and you would just lie on our couch and you would put your fingers to your temples and close your eyes and just go, I just need a 5-minute break from what's going on in my office. And I think, now you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we would be in the office, me, Bill Baker, Randy Awada, and we would be discussing signing Gob or signing the New Pornographers or what to do about album number 2, or what do we do about extending this contract? And you're lying there on the couch. You're an immigration lawyer. You don't know anything about music. Well, at least we didn't think
you did.
Criminal law,
yes.
All that stuff.
Yes.
Law.
Poverty law. Yes.
Poverty law. And you would say every once in a while, we thought you were asleep. And you'd say, yeah, but why don't you sign Gob to like a 3, 4, 5 album deal in case the first album takes off? Then you've got them locked in. If it's one album, they could just walk. And we look over and like, what is this?
Who are you?
Who are you? From 3 floors up, napping on our couch, you're giving us advice. And then Bill would be like, well, he is a lawyer. And then we thought, well, yeah. And then so we started tapping you and saying like, hey man, what about this or what about that? And soon you were writing the contracts and you would point out, we would have like a draft contract and you would point out things in the contract that we literally wrote it. And yet you would point out stuff we'd miss. And you'd say, hey, you should really have a piece of this or you're taking too much of that. And I think, now correct me if I'm wrong, but was this not... And then you finally, as my story goes, you finally said, why am I working for these chumps? I'm just going to start my own thing and enter Simkin into the music industry. Correct or false?
The last part I didn't quite get. What do you mean, why don't I start my own thing?
Because I think you became an entertainment lawyer.
Yes.
Your older practices started to wind down.
Yes.
And you found essentially your calling in show business.
Yes
from
and no.
That Mint experience.
Yes and no. That definitely had a big, big part of it. So a couple things, because it's just funny hearing all this. It's just so long ago. It's just amazing. But
mid, early 90s.
Yeah. I mean, I was called to the bar in 92 in BC. I was called to the bar in Ontario earlier. But I was called to the bar in 92.
Boy, I was called to a lot of bars in the 90s. Let me tell you.
There you go.
Hey,
when I got called to the bar, I had no intention of doing anything in the entertainment world.
Yeah.
I didn't take copyright in law school. Always been a huge music fan. I was even in a band at law school, but not with any serious aspirations, just singing covers of Rolling Stones and Velvet Underground stuff. And, I was quite happy doing criminal law and immigration law, but I'm glad you mentioned it for a couple of reasons. One, after that stupid tweet that got me in trouble, I got such a reputation of, Simkin's a racist. It's racist? I've made law on behalf of refugees in this country.
Now, wait a second. Yes, you've done it. You did. I mean, the stuff we saw you doing in your original practice was amazing for people that really needed help.
Yes,
and
thank you.
You did a lot of pro bono work and all sorts of stuff.
Yes.
And we saw it day in, day out, with your wife, Jen.
Because I gave it. Certainly it wasn't for the money because it wasn't making much.
But you, on your podcast, you have mentioned this tweet several times without context. So could you say what the tweet was about or when it happened?
Yeah.
Why you put it out there?
I'm actually going to be writing a story about that that will probably end up in Billboard, but I don't mind saying a little bit about it now. I don't want it to take over this.
Well, you certainly bring it up enough.
I do. I guess I assume, you know what, when you're in the middle of one of those things where you get canceled or you almost get canceled, it's funny because you feel like your world is collapsing. You feel like the world is collapsing.
I remember the tweet. I just think that there are listeners that might not.
Okay. So this was the 2018 Junos. Mm-hmm. And that year, the Junos were in Vancouver. And we had one of the biggest hits that this label's ever had that year with Theory of a Dead Man. They had a hit called RX, which was #1 in the US for 7 weeks. That's a big deal. 15 years into their career, they had this massive hit. And, what people don't know, but I'll tell you now, is one of the ugliest parts of the music business is what goes on behind the scenes at award shows. Ugly, ugly, ugly. Everybody's jockeying for position and everybody's trying to get their act
and they all want to perform live on the show. That's the key thing.
That's a key thing. And we've had lots of artists over the years that have, Carly Rae Jepsen, Marianas Trench, Theory of a Dead Man. We've had lots of. So that year I tried to get Theory of a Dead Man on the show. It seemed like a no-brainer to me. Vancouver band, Vancouver label, Vancouver Junos, #1 hit in the States. No brainer, right? Well, that was right after Harvey Weinstein. Literally, that was within months of the Harvey Weinstein Me Too movement starting. And I don't want to say who, but somebody, one of the powers that be, actually said to me, because I'm advocating for my artists. I want them on the show. They should be on the show. Sorry, man. Bad year to be 4 white guys. We've sort of hit our quotient. And it pissed me off. So I tweeted. And the tweet I said was something like, I just signed a new band. I'm going to do a And it was a little bit after the Junos because I was in Toronto going to the Caris building.
Okay.
So I was actually going to the building where the Junos are run.
The company that
and so it was on my mind.
Junos.
You know, it was a few months after the Junos. And I said, hey, I just signed a new band. 2 guys, 2 girls. One's black, one's Asian, one's, gay, one's physically impaired. I call them the Inclusive 4. Their music sucks balls, but they're a shoe-in for the Juno show next year.
Right.
Which, listen, I get why people reacted, because if you don't know me, if you don't know my history, if you don't know who I am, it looks like a complete...
It's satire, reactive satire.
It was a dark humor joke trying to make a point, but there was no context to it, right? And like, I guess I used to tweet assuming everybody knows who I am, not because I'm famous, but like, the people following me
in the industry
are in the industry and they kind of know who I am. It was the people who didn't know me who, of course, reacted. Racist, what a piece of shit, and I'm like, oh my God, like here I was. I've spent so much of my career helping people from other countries, I got people into this country from Palestine to Africa. I mean, that's what I did, and so that hurt. Like that really hurt. And when
it blew over, but for the fact that you always bring it up.
Right. That's what I mean. When you're in the middle of it.
Yeah. To this day.
Although it does come up. I mean, from time to time.
Yeah,
it comes up, not just for me. It comes up from time to time.
So that was your closest. That was your closest brush with the.
I thought my life was over.
With the fiery ball of the sun.
I thought my business was going to be destroyed. I had some artists who were like very upset. Most people who knew me weren't upset at all. They're like, Simkin, you and your mouth. It's like, but it was a joke, a bad joke, a tasteless joke, one I should have given some context to, and I ended up having to apologize, and that was sort of that. And you're right. I definitely obsess about it. Nobody else does anymore. But again, when you're in the middle of it,
it's good to know the history, and But look, I mean, I have had, quite frank, nothing like quite to this degree, but I have had a similar experience with the Junos, in that I grew up on the music of 5440, and I never really understood what the big deal was with the Tragically Hip and Great Big Sea and all these bands from out east.
Yeah.
I thought Spirit of the West and 5440 were the cool bands from out here.
Yep.
And that they were the soundtrack of our lives, not Tragically Hip.
Yep.
It was our bands. And so I find it bizarre to me that if we're talking about the Junos, that I believe the Tragically Hip's career Juno total is 17. 5440's career Juno total is 0.
Is that right?
0.
Didn't know that.
45 years as a band, platinum albums out the yin yang, at least 20 songs in the top 40, and nothing to show for at the world's, at Canada's largest awards stage. So Junos are coming back to Vancouver a couple of years ago. Was it last year?
Last year.
So I got a hold of the powers that be at the Junos a year or two in advance, because they announced this stuff early. And I said, hey man, you're coming back to Vancouver. This would be a perfect opportunity for the Hall of Fame award to go to 5440, their hometown. They've never won. This would be ideal. They're in their 40th whatever year, and they said, we've already decided the Hall of Fame award, we're going to go in a different direction. And I thought, well, okay, 4 white guys, diversity, I get it, whatever. And it went to Sum 41.
4 white guys.
Yeah, from Toronto.
Yeah,
or Ajax, Ontario.
All
power to Sum 41. Love you, Tom Thacker from Gob, who now plays did play in Sum 41 for years.
Yep.
A lot of hits.
Yep.
Bigger internationally than 5440.
Well, except 5440, I Go Blind was covered by Hootie and the Blowfish and was probably a bigger hit than Sum 41 ever had.
And bought them all houses.
Yeah.
Bought 5440 all houses. Did they spend it on boats and cars and blow? No. They bought real estate in Vancouver.
The award show thing is tough in a lot of different ways. Like there's, and I got really caught up in it in a way this year because I've always said like the whole concept of like the best song, what the does that mean? Like, it's like giving an award for ice cream. Like, the award for the best
Well,
ice cream goes to chocolate. Isn't this all subjective?
They call it Song of the Year. I don't think they call it Best Song.
But, you know.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, the
it's
thing
semantics.
is, this is why I always love the Billboard Awards more than any other awards, because it's based on facts. Most airplay, most sales. Let's make it objective and not have it be about, because then that's when all the politics get involved and the labels band together to, you know, skew the voting and all that. Like, it really doesn't mean a whole lot. It's nice to get them, but the truth is, it's and it always has been. But to, you know, so this year there were a few people who put me forward for the Walt Grealis Award.
Oh, okay.
And I made the mistake of getting caught up in it. And I started to advocate for myself.
Oh.
Boy, do I regret that now.
Now, remind me, is that like career?
Yeah, like sort of contribution to the Canadian, right, to, you know, and it went to Riley, the
agent.
Which, fine, like, I don't even know the guy. I don't give a but it became very clear to me very quickly that I will never get the Walt Grealis Award.
Why? Why would you say that?
Because I pissed off too many people. I'm
you
telling you, the politics of it is...
If this podcast is proof of anything, time heals. Because some of the people that you've had on who have already said, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm chatting with you." Now, interestingly,
why? Because we used to hate each other.
Yeah. I mean, the title of the podcast. But you and I,
we've never had any bad.
Never, ever in 30, 35 years. I haven't really had much
bad stuff with most people. Like, I really haven't. Like,
so it's just the
I have a reputation
that precedes you.
And I don't even fully, I mean, I know where part of that comes from. Part of that comes from the fact that, as we were just talking about, I fell into the entertainment law stuff by accident. I didn't know what the I was doing the first few years. And I think when you don't know what you're doing, sometimes you will substitute aggression and yelling for actual experience.
Well, you never did that with me, and you never did that with anyone from Mint.
But that's because I was your lawyer. I was yelling at other people on your behalf.
Yeah, but even when you're hanging out with us, you know, and your lovely wife, Jennifer, who taught me the word hirsute.
I was going to bring that up. So help me God.
When she was
on the list.
When she was describing my copious body hair.
Is the correct pronunciation. Hirsute.
Hirsute.
The reason I know that is I was preparing for the podcast.
That's what I said. Hirsute.
Hirsute.
Okay, fine.
Here versus her.
Hirsute.
Yes.
But yeah, I was in the elevator one day. It was the summer. I was scantily clad. And
at the Dominion building?
Yeah, in the Dominion building. We're in the elevator. And she said, "Oh my." And I said, "Well, what?" She said, "Oh, you're so hirsute." and I had no idea what she was talking about. And because I didn't know the word, I have a very limited vocabulary.
Yes.
And so I said, "Jennifer, I have to ask, what does that mean?" And she said, it's a polite and complimentary way of saying hairy.
Yes.
And I said, "Oh, that's so nice of you." And of course, like, this moment, no one's ever forgotten it, because no one has ever complimented me on the amount of body hair I have, except her.
Yes.
So thank you, Jennifer.
Well, you know what's funny is I told her I was going to bring it up on the podcast because she was a little pissed.
It's our moment.
She was a little pissed at you. You know why?
Yeah. Oh, I do, because at the open house,
she calls you my assistant.
At the open house, I said here, which was it was a Junos,
part of the decades
open
thing.
house, decades, all this stuff from the 80s and 90s in your warehouse, and all the folks from the Junos came down, and we did a panel.
That was fun.
And I was telling some of these stories, and I said, "Oh yeah, Jonathan up there in his law office with his secretary, a long-suffering secretary," and then from the side, I heard someone say, "Wife?" And I looked over, and it was Jennifer. I'm like, "Oh, I meant wife. Yeah, that was."
No, I think lawyer, because she was a lawyer. I mean, she did stuff for Mint as well.
Oh, so it was even worse.
Yeah, it was even worse.
So
because I think you called her my assistant, and she's actually, the other lawyer in the law firm.
And your wife.
And my wife as well.
So lawyer and
she wasn't
wife.
Really mad. She was a little irked, and that was it. She's over it.
That was definitely a foot in mouth at that.
Well, she'll get a kick out of the fact that you brought up the hirsute thing, not me.
And I'm so glad that, that moment was live, and it just disappeared into the ether, and now
forever it'll be on the internet. Yes,
captured.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Yes,
thank
my
you
pleasure.
so much for bringing that back up.
It's all good. It was an honest mistake, but but going back to what we were sort of talking about here. So yes, the Mint definitely had a lot to do with me getting deep into the entertainment law thing, but it was really not. What really happened was I moved into an apartment building in '92 when I was articling here. And my neighbors were in a band, you might even remember them, the Water Walk.
Don't remember
They
the
were on
one.
network. They were on network.
Okay, vaguely.
They had a little bit of a college hit called Turn Your Face Away. And I think they got signed to IRS.
Okay.
And through network. And some of them went on to other things. I mean, Ike Idleness and ended up in the Hard Rock Miners.
Yeah. Ike,
Dave Kershaw ended up in Sarah McLachlan's band and even becoming her boyfriend. And I think that song Adia by her is about him, I believe.
Okay.
The band never ended up doing anything, but they were my next door neighbors.
I see.
So I would come home from court and I'd get like, oh, hey, come on over, let's smoke a joint and tell us about your case today, you know? So we would just hang out. It had nothing to do with business. But I'd end up going to parties with them all the time with all these networks. So I met Kevin Kane and I met Skinny Puppy and I met Sarah McLachlan's band. That's what led me to Daryl Newdorf on that lawsuit.
So Daryl Newdorf,
who was in 5440, just to bring it full circle, one of the co-writers of I Go Blind.
Yes, became a producer.
Yes.
And produced
including Nico Case.
Nico Case's first record. But there was that lawsuit because one of those records that went absolutely massive.
No, you know what? It really didn't go massive.
Was it Building a Mystery?
No, it was the very first album.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even know who Sarah was when he hired me. I didn't even know who she was.
But the case was that he wanted writing credit. Was that right?
And producer credit. And boy, did we lose.
I remember all that going down. That was the late 90s, right?
I think it was, like the very late 90s.
Yeah.
And what a hell of an experience. But it's also sort of what got me into the business. And then the Mint thing definitely helped.
Yeah.
Like the Dominion building is still a beautiful building, tallest building in the British Empire when
it was built. Yes.
1910, I think.
I think it was just
earlier.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. 1910, 1911.
And it was cheap. Like it was cheap to have Mint had like the nice office up on the top.
The corner suite.
10th floor, 12th, 13th.
Oh, we moved all the time.
Oh, that's true. You did
move around. We were moving up, down, up, down.
That's true.
And then do you remember TV producer Chris Haddock, the writer?
I still am friends with Chris.
Yeah, great guy, Da Vinci's Inquest.
And he had like a big office on like one of the floors there.
Haddock, a bunch of other artists, Mint Records was in there. And what I find really interesting historically is that at the end of the 90s, there was a crash in the music biz around 98. And I went off. That's when I went to the CBC. I'm not exactly sure the timeline, but you started 604 Records in
2001.
2001.
I mean, stuff happened before that kind of
you were doing
the foundation.
Yeah, you were doing all the contracts and everything. So 604 Records starts, and then now we're in we're doing this podcast from the 604 Palace, this building. And
I'm as amazed as anybody.
We're surrounded by gold and platinum records all on the wall. And Mint is still in the Dominion building. Yeah, but Randy's still in that office. Bill Baker retired to Summerland.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is that Mint was always about community, indie. It didn't really matter how much the record sold as long as the label was documenting the scene. You have an innate business sense of what is going to sell, what's going to become a hit. Like Mint has never to this day had a hit.
Well, that's not true.
Well, name one.
Pornographers.
I mean one particular song that goes crazy. They don't have their
Call Me Maybe.
They don't have a Call Me Maybe, or they don't have a Photograph or whatever. And so, but it's cool. It's fine because they are a legacy label that's been going for 35 years.
Yep.
They have put out a ton of records.
Yep.
They will forever be remembered in the canon of Canadian
100%.
music.
Yep.
And it's okay sometimes when you don't have a hit.
Okay, but I got to address a couple of things you said. So number one, it's funny about the business side of this because I don't have any business training. I never thought of myself as a businessman.
Well, that's why I said it was innate.
I have an intuitive sense of business, and I don't think it's because yes, for whatever reason, when I sign a band, it seems like I often sign stuff that other people like. But it's not like I sit there and go, I think other people are going to like this. I just sign I like. Mm-hmm. And I guess it turns out that other people like it too.
Yeah, well, passion is contagious.
It's never that contrived. I never sort of go, hey, now that doesn't mean I don't think about it like, oh, these guys are good looking or this, that's going to help sell records. But I never sign someone just because I think they're going to sell records. I've never done that because nobody really knows what's going to work. You never really know.
But you've got quite a track record. gotta say.
Which is why I should get the Walt Grealis Award.
Swinging it back to that. But there's two other things I wanted to bring up that I've heard on this podcast.
Oh, okay, go.
That I wanted to talk about. One of them is, which one would I talk about first? Okay, I'll talk about this one from Mark DiPietro, who's been around forever. He did Teenage USA Records. He's kind of worked everywhere, all over Toronto.
Indeed.
And he said this thing that shocked me on the podcast. And he said, and this might be the difference between being really thick in the industry and involved in the majors and being on the independent side, which I have always been on. And he said, I only have 2 people in the industry that I feel that I could truly call my friends and that I can trust. And I was shocked by that comment because I have, one of the greatest things about, being in my band, The Smugglers, is we never had any hits, but we came away with friends from all over the world that still exist to this day that we do trust and we do love and we do depend on and we do still see. I just went back to Japan for the first time in 25 years and they held a welcome back party for me at one of the coolest rock and roll bars in the world, this place called Poor Cow, and filled with these friends that I hadn't seen in 25 years. And that's the kind of thing that I really value, is community and friendship. So I was surprised by that. The second thing was one of your many kind of, I call them Simkin bumper sticker quotes, where you said, the only thing worse than having no hits is having one hit, which I totally disagree with, because one hit can give you obviously a career for life.
Yeah, I think what I meant on that, and I've said that.
I know you're being facetious.
No, I wasn't being facetious. I've said it more than
then
once.
You're totally wrong.
I just mean it in a different way than perhaps it was received. What I mean by that is to have a big hit and then nothing is devastating.
Might be a bit depressing.
Well, it could be devastating for some people, like absolutely devastating.
But you
sort of get a taste of that.
Yes, but okay, sure. But that might be the boom and then a feeling of bust, but then there's echo. And the echo is a career for the rest of your life.
Oh, like Lou Bega Jr. is still touring off of Mambo number 9 or whatever. That's stupid. Yeah. I mean, I get
Mambo,
that point too.
Yeah.
Is that what it was called?
Mambo number 5.
Number 5. 9, 5. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, yes, you make a point.
Hey, but we know it, right? Like,
you absolutely make a point.
Yeah. It's a career. One hit is a career. All you need is, Frank Sinatra said, all you need is one, baby.
You can tour your whole life.
Your whole life. And you can play whatever else you want in the set. Now, here's one story about
I don't disagree.
Here's a story about a one-hit wonder and how it can backfire. I think his name is Bobby Freeman. So don't worry, be happy.
Oh yeah, no, it's Bobby something.
McFerrin.
Yes.
Bobby McFerrin.
Yes.
So his one hit is Don't Worry, Be Happy. So my wife, Jill Barber, playing with him at the Ottawa Blues Festival, and there's a couple thousand people there. Bobby McFerrin's going on. He plays his 45 minutes, an hour. He doesn't play.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Don't Worry, Be Happy. So the audience spends the set, as it gets closer and closer and closer to the end, they're starting to ironically worry, and then they leave unhappy. So he cancels out his hit song and doesn't play it.
I'm worried, I'm unhappy.
I'm worried and I'm unhappy when I go see Bobby McFerrin.
Well, your point is well taken, but my point was, again, really more of the mental impact on, because I've seen it. Like I don't want to name names, but like I've been with bands who've had one hit and they never able to recreate it, and it's kind of devastating to them, and it kind of almost becomes this scarlet letter that they're wearing.
Come on, cry me a river. Cry me a river.
What are you going to say about Carly?
Well, Carly Rae Jepsen, one of the biggest songs ever.
Maybe the biggest selling digital single in history.
And so that was right off the top, right? I mean,
No, second album.
second album. Okay, so
She had a hit on her first record,
sophomore,
a Canadian hit.
and that was correct me if I'm wrong, but Carly was more on a country side of things at the beginning.
I would say folk pop.
Folk. So she bursts out of into the world spectrum, becomes the song of the summer, song of the year.
Crazy.
It's still one of the great earworms.
I don't think there is a single day, and I swear to you, I don't think there's a single day that there isn't at least one email about that song, usually one that puts money in 604's pocket.
Okay, and hers. And so
hers.
And
Josh Ramsey, who co-wrote it and produced it, and Tavish Crow, who co-wrote it.
And those are Mariana's Trench guys?
One of them is, the other one's the blonde guitar player in her band. Like if you look at that video, he's the last thing you see in the corner.
And it's a great video too. It's a great storyline.
It cost me like $9,000, and it's now at 2.8 billion views or something.
And the video is this great play on sexuality with an awesome twist at the end.
And Tavish is the guy who has the twist. Like he's the guy.
Yeah, it's very clever. I know there's whole things about people have looked up and traced the model that plays the
he was
love
a jackass
interest.
and ended up coming out later like I got ripped off. Ripped off? What do you think people get paid to be in a music video?
It's a
$8,000 budget.
So you don't get points on a music video.
No, you don't.
So anyway, that song, Carly Rae Jepsen, correct me if I'm wrong, never has ever, even though she's had critical success since.
Correct.
I believe she was nominated for the Polaris Prize, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Which is the Critics' Prize.
And was on many top 10 lists for the follow-up album.
Many top 10s, very, critical.
Correct.
She's a songwriter.
Yep.
She's never had anything close to Call Me Maybe, but hey, lightning doesn't always strike twice.
No, it's interesting with her because she did a good job of reinventing herself almost by necessity, I think, because when the second album, they tried to recreate, and I was sort of out of the loop, not out of the loop, I wasn't her manager for the second album.
Yeah.
I was her manager so we started with Tug of War in Canada, and that was a hit, the song.
I don't remember.
And we almost got a couple of deals. Well, she was nominated for a Juno. That song went top 10. Great song, by the way. Tug of War, great video. Like, really proud of that one. And, but it was a Canadian hit. Like, it was a top 10 Canadian hit. It almost led to a US deal, but it didn't. And so that was that. And then Call Me Maybe was on the next album. And, I think, so I step out of the loop on the management side and Scooter Braun steps in.
Right. The Justin Bieber manager, right?
But yes. The one who Taylor Swift hates so much.
Okay.
Kind of everybody hates so much, for good reason, by the way. She makes this second album, Emotion, third album, but second album after for Interscope at 604.
Okay. Unimportant details, but go on.
Details, which I'm full of. And there was a song on there called I Really Like You. You know that one?
No.
Tom Hanks is in the video.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I really.
Yes.
And that was their attempt to, and Scooter Braun even went in the press like.
Is the attempt the follow-up pop?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And Scooter Braun even was in the press, it's going to be bigger than Call Me Maybe, which is like, Jesus Christ, what a way to jinx a song. Good God. And it didn't really perform.
But so I guess my point in all this is, Carly Rae, does she consider that Call Me Maybe an albatross, a hindrance?
I'm not close to her anymore, so I don't know. But yes and no, I'm going to say, because I know that there was a real, it's funny. So she sent me a note about the second album. Like I'd already sort of stepped out of the direct loop at that point, and she sent me the album. She said, "Hey, the album's done. I want you to hear it, and I really want your opinion about it." Okay. And I remember writing her back. I still have the email because every once in a while I go and look at it. And what I said to her was, love the album. Beautiful album. I think going out with that single first is a big mistake because it's almost, I Really Like You.
Oh, okay.
The album after the Call Me Maybe. So, because I just feel like it's the most, you've made a real adult record, with the exception of the one song you're going out with first as the single. I'm like, what's the point of making this beautiful adult-oriented album and going out with this kind of goofy? It just didn't make sense to me. And sure enough, the single did not work. But I think she had the wherewithal to sort of go, well, I'm getting some critical acclaim. Let's double down on that. And they really did. And she's had a nice career, and she still does.
Yeah.
But she's a funny artist, because sometimes I'll talk to people and they'd be like, is she still making music? And then you'll talk to other people who are like, wow, Carly Rae Jepsen. Like, the fans are hardcore. And it's a lot of LGBTQ people. Like, that's where she's like Cher in that community.
Yeah,
like,
she's great.
So she can tour the world. She can do, but yeah, it's interesting.
So bottom line, it's great to have a hit.
If it's a choice between you have one or none, I would say you go for the one.
Okay, good. Look at this.
I didn't want to make it sound like we've made progress.
I've flipped Simkin here on one of his own bumper stickers.
You have indeed. But I did want to say a couple more things, because we were talking about Mint and like the fact that they've never really had to call me. Maybe that was a constant source of, I don't want to say friction, because that's giving it more, that spins it a certain way I don't mean. It was a constant source of discussion with me and Rand and Bill. And here's where I got to be careful, because I don't want to say too much about their business. But let's just say in general terms, there were many times that I said, guys, why are we doing it like this?
Yeah, I know.
Do it like that.
Yes.
It's going to be so much better.
I know.
And they never want, and I respect that. I wasn't trying to tell them what to do. I was doing my job. Like, hey, if you did this slightly differently, it might be a lot more lucrative. It might be,
Yeah, I mean,
but
we had some minor surprise hits. Soda, from the first Gob record, became a Much Music hit and certainly launched their career. But it was when they acrimoniously left Mint and went across town to Network, where they really broke wide with I Hear You Calling.
Yep.
And so maybe it's just, Mint is the community indie label where we know how to put out a record, and we know how to get it distributed, and we know how to get it played on campus and college and CBC, but we just didn't know how to break through to the,
or maybe didn't want to,
or maybe didn't want to.
I mean, I almost got that impression sometimes, and it was frustrating for me. But I respected it. Like, it's not my job to tell them how to run their business. It's my job to give them all the options, and then they make a decision.
Because on the true indie level, for us, it was more about the complete package of the album, and we didn't even really think about singles so much, because back then a single was essentially the video.
Yep.
In the 90s. And so I remember another incredible standalone song was the New Pornographers song, their first ever song, Letter from an Occupant, which I still consider to be
such a great song.
One of the greatest Canadian songs of all time.
Great song.
But, it did not get any commercial radio play. Mint Records, Cub dabbled with a little bit of commercial radio play, but again, just darlings of the campus. Pluto got some commercial radio play.
With Black Lipstick.
Yes, but nothing that really broke through on a major way. Pluto actually did get scooped up by Virgin. Pluto being a 4-piece
and that's still a sore point.
Vancouver.
That is still, and I'll tell you why it's a sore point for me. It's a sore point because somebody wrote a book about Mint.
Yeah.
And they quoted Justin Lee, who was in Pluto.
Yeah, drummer of Pluto.
And I'm sort of friendly with him still. Like, we've actually been, because I put out Movie Land, and he was in Movie Land.
Yeah, real estate agent.
But like, he's a real estate agent. But like, there's this quote in the book about our lawyer totally took Simkin. Our lawyer was this big lawyer in New York, and he basically snookered Simkin or whatever. No, I was under instructions from my clients about what they were willing to do and what they weren't willing to do. So I sort of they always had me on a bit of a leash. Like
Pluto?
No, Mint.
Oh, Mint.
What I'm saying is the stuff that Justin was seeing is, our lawyer was better than Simkin.
Yeah.
It was like, well, I was given instructions. It wasn't up to me to do whatever I wanted.
Yeah. And then, Pluto went through one of those things where they quickly realized that the grass isn't always greener across on the majors, and they were starting to yearn for the consistency and community at Mint, because they got put out on this Virgin tour and they were playing empty rooms around the United States.
And they got big management, Bill Graham management.
Yeah, and it just they're a great band. I mean, we loved them on Mint, and they put out a lot of great records on Mint. And for some reason, it just didn't
work.
It didn't the move to the majors didn't work. And really, I mean, I think, God, that might have been one of the only ones that made the leap. I mean, New Pornographer is very successful with Matador. Nico Case is probably the legacy artist of them all.
But you see, there's another example, and this is where I'm going to not say the details because I can't disclose that because of solicitor-client privilege. But there was a decision made about her that made me lose my mind. And
Even between Mint and Nico?
yeah,
Okay.
and I'm not going to say what it was. That's for Rand and Builda if they ever want to.
Well, they've probably forgotten about it, so you might as well just say it.
No, but they just made a decision about something to do with her that I thought was completely insane. And that's where I kind of went, okay, you know what? I love these guys.
Yeah.
I respect them, but they're never going to get the business side of this. They're just never, ever, ever going to get the business side of it. And that's fine.
But you know who's probably the biggest alumni of Mint Records, and he's also the biggest alumni of Much Music?
Who?
Your client.
Oh, Nardwar.
Nardwar, the Human Serviette.
Yeah, I had him on a list of something to talk about
lead
too.
singer of the Evaporators,
Yes.
that put out several records on Mint.
Yes.
He's the biggest of them all. He's bigger than everybody.
So I'll tell you something funny. So I lecture at UBC Law School, lectured there yesterday, and, like 3 or 4 times a year. And of course, they always want to know, like we talk about law and then it always disintegrates into, what's Chad like or what's Carly like?
Right.
So,
Disintegrates.
so somebody, from talking about legal
Yeah.
principles and, the never fails. And it happened yesterday. Somebody says, I said, yes, question. Who do you represent as a lawyer? I say, well, I sort of gave up my law practice 15 years ago when 604 started to do well, but I kept 3 clients. Nickelback, and there's always a bit of a murmur in the room. Stint, the producer, I said, you probably don't know who he is, but he's produced, Zara Larsson and Portugal the Man. And I was, oh, yeah. I said, and Nardwar, that's the reaction. That's who everybody reacts to.
Like a big cheer.
You work for Nardwar?
Right.
Yes, that's who everybody wants to know about. It's wild.
And I was at a CBC meeting a while ago and with some brass, and one of them said, whatever happened to Nardwar? And I said, what are you talking about? Nardwar is bigger
than ever
now than he has ever been. But they remembered him from Much Music. They didn't remember him from anything else. They're not aware. And you know why that is, Jonathan, is because his audience is so young. His audience is, ironically, Nardwar, who's in his mid-50s, has the young, diverse demographic that so many major media companies would give their eye teeth for. And Nardwar has that audience doing it his way, the hard way, from 1986 to here we are in 2025.
I get so many questions about him. It's wild. It's wild. And
Well, he's a fascinating guy.
well, he is a fascinating guy. And probably, what the biggest question is? Can you guess? Because you know him. Because you probably get the same question.
Well, the biggest question I got about Nardwar is that really him?
Exactly.
On the
That's
in
what
the
I
interviews.
get. Exactly the question I get. And I kind of like, yeah.
Yeah. Now there are moments that you and I have seen where he can be calm and quiet and complacent, but then he can explode into stuff that he doesn't want to do, or some crazy angle that he wants to take on a contract, or his most common word he says these days is no. He's starting to lighten up a bit and he's starting to do more things. But I've known him longer than I've known you. I go back with him all the way
high school, right?
to grade 1.
To grade 1.
Yeah, and he was always the zany kid. And I often say like I'm torn about Nardwar because I think if he was a kid today, he would be designated in some way, shape, or form at school. Yeah, something like that. He would have some designation. But in the 70s and 80s, he was just the kooky kid.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because Nardwar, who's a very dear friend of mine, he lives alone in his parents'
In the house he grew up in.
In the house he grew up in West Vancouver. I worry about, is he lonely?
And he's had health issues, which are concerning.
He's had scary health issues over the years. He doesn't have a partner. His life is his work.
Yes.
His socializing is his interviews.
Yes.
And that's,
It is funny though, because like if he calls me and wants to have a Zoom about something we're working on, I mean, it might as well be one of those interviews.
I know.
So tell me, so you're saying that if they,
he just asked, like, I was over at his house 2 days ago. And I actually we have this place called The Spot where I leave things for him, stuff or he'll leave something for me in the spot. I'll put something for him in the spot. And I was in a hurry. And you do not want to run into Nardwar when you're in a hurry, whether you're being interviewed or whether you're just running into him. God love him. And so I was coming down the driveway and he spots me and he goes, "Hey." And I said, "Oh, hey." And then I'm like, well, so much for the next appointment because I'm talking to Nardwar until he's done.
Yes.
Could
be an hour, could be 2.
Yeah. And so we talked and we talked and we talked and we talked and we talked. But that's friendship too, and I don't want to even though I just said I was kind of trying to tiptoe out of there, I'm not going to, we were talking about, he's doing these shows all over now, his Video Vault shows.
Yes.
So we're headed to New Orleans in a couple of weeks. And so all sorts of exciting stuff with him.
I love it. And it's very satisfying. And I suppose there is a part of me that feels, I'm not going to say paternal, but feels, I'm glad I'm there to make sure
I'm very glad you're there. He needs...
And he's not stupid, so it's not like I'm suggesting he's stupid.
No, but
he's not inclined to that sort of... When it comes to contracts or deals, like many people, that's not what he does. That's not what how his brain works.
We've grown up knowing that if it cost him $14 to manufacture an LP, he will sell it for $6. Right. And that's just the way he wants to do it.
Yes.
And he kept his ticket prices for his all ages shows ridiculously low, and we couldn't pay the bands at the end of the night. So we were going to the bank machine, and Randy from Mint was getting out cash to, pay Fugazi and stuff like this. And it was crazy, but we all love him. We all respect him. And we're very glad that he has friends like you, professional friends like you, and Leora Kornfeld out in Toronto, who's an advisor for him. That makes us all, I swear, sleep better at night.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, well, that's so interesting. So, because there was you and Nardwar, but some of the guys from the New Pornographers were from West Van too, right?
There's a whole cabal of West Vancouverites over there that, and it was a lot of it, the scene kind of grew around Nardwar because famously, he, instead of having canned DJs at our high school dances, he started bringing in live bands from downtown Vancouver because he heard about this cool scene down here. And in the punk had kind of ebbed, but there was embers. So there was the Enigmas, the Grapes of Wrath. Art Bergman formed a new band called Poisoned once the Young Canadians fell apart. And Nardwar started booking these bands into our high school. And I believe he changed an entire generation that started forming bands, the Smugglers and the Evaporators and She Stole My Beer and the Gramis Brothers all came out of that high school. Before us, there was, it was supposed to be a sports school, and it really turned out to be rock and roll high school because before us, there was Barney Bentall. And then before Barney, I guess in between Barney and us, there was John Mann with Spirit of the West coming out of our high school. So
which school was it?
Hillside Secondary.
Yeah, we used to play you in basketball.
So there's just this unbelievable a bunch of musicians that came out of it. It's almost like a Malcolm McLaren, or it just takes one of these people in a scene to kind of create the groundwork or create the foundation or create the influence. And then all this art builds up around it. And in this case, it was music in a well-to-do suburb. I'm not, I didn't realize it at the time, but I realize now that because it was a privileged suburb, we had the means to get an amplifier or get a car to get to a gig, or that all helped.
Yep.
2 parents in most of the houses. And, so I'm totally aware of that, the fortune that we had, no pun intended.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, that was the Nardwar scene from Hillside, and it's just kind of gone on from there with him.
The other scene I remember sort of being adjacent, I guess, to the Mint thing was the scratch records, because not only was it similar sort of music and people who knew each other, but they were in that downstairs,
that's right,
which was right around the corner, like right next to the Dominion building.
Yeah, it was a subterranean row of shops, and Scratch Records was in there. And where we met all those guys was we would all commune, but separately. So I guess that's not quite the right word.
At the Canby?
At the Canby,
Yeah.
which is an old watering hole in
Still
Vancouver,
there.
corner of Canby and Cordova.
Yep.
And a dump,
Yep.
and back then it catered to this sort of working class, sort of out of work loggers that that lived in the single room occupancy.
Yeah.
Up above, but what we discovered was these places sold beer for $1 a glass.
Right.
So it was cheap swill. Oh, but we'd go
So
in
what if
there.
they didn't clean the pumps properly?
Yeah.
Who
Oh
cares?
my God. you wondered, like, what is the difference between the urine being sprayed
Yes.
into the urinals and the beer they're
Yes.
serving? It was so similar.
Exactly.
And so, but the scratch gang would be over here. So Carl Newman and the superconductor and
Yep.
Futures and Pano and New Pornographers. And then the Smugglers Evaporators gang would be over here.
Yep.
And slowly we just came together and we became very, very good friends. And that's how Nico connected with the New Pornographers.
And it was crossover
Yeah, there was
because
tons of crossover.
Zampano, of course, was Carl, and then
Yeah.
he ended up in New Pornographers.
Yeah. Tons and tons of crossover. We all became friends. We started just hanging out all the time.
And I started working with some of those bands. I mean,
Yeah.
I did Zampano's deal with Sub Pop.
I remember that.
Which
yeah.
I believe was the first Canadian band to sign to
it
Sub
was,
Pop.
it was the first, not
after
quite.
Chicks Dig It? Was that the
You're
first one?
it was the first ever
Oh,
Canadian.
Eric's Trip.
You got it.
Eric's
First
Trip.
ever band. They were the first
One of the
BC band.
First BC band.
But they're, first band, Canadian band assigned to Sub Pop was Eric's Trip. But then Sub Pop went on a run signing a bunch of Canadian
True.
stuff. I mean, Black Halos was on
That's
Sub
true.
Pop,
I
from
still
Vancouver.
think those two Zampano records are two of the
They're-
best
they're
records I have
classic.
ever heard.
And one story that Jonathan Poneman, from one of the owners of Sub Pop, once told me was, he said, what happened with the Shins, with New Slang and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
how they're still to this day one of the biggest selling Sub Pop bands, along with the Postal Service and Nirvana. Yeah, they're way up there at the top.
okay.
That's the irony of Sub Pop, is like Nirvana is number one, but the other two are not grunge bands.
No, they're not.
But anyway, he said what happened with the Shins was what I thought was going to happen with Zampano. And when Zampano didn't work, one of the reasons that I signed the Shins was because they reminded me of Zampano. So it's interesting that sometimes you get these bands that are first past the post or whatever, and they don't click. But then Carl formed a side project called the New Pornographers, this bombastic, loud rock and roll machine that took off. Unfortunately, they've had a rocky year, and I don't know what the future of the band holds.
There was a bit of a scandal, wasn't there?
There is a scandal, yeah. The very, very unfortunately, the drummer of the band was arrested.
Sexual misconduct?
No, he was arrested in a sting operation in his hometown of Palm Springs for allegedly luring underage. Not a great situation.
No.
So they are in a crisis situation.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm friends with most of the band members, but I don't know what they are going to do, because a member of the New Pornographers getting arrested for that type of charge is so bizarrely on the nose that, what do you do? What do you do in that situation? So I feel for those guys. I love those guys. Catherine Calder from the band, one of my best, I love her. John Collins, one of my oldest friends, and this is their career and their legacy.
But
and
you would think, and this is going to sound like maybe a thing to say, but like, it wasn't like it was one of the core members who, can't they just jettison this idiot and move on?
They did quickly, fire him and cut ties, and I believe even allegedly scrub his drums from the album they were working on.
Interesting.
So it's kind of like, all of this.
But these days, people won't forgive that, or you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. We deal with this sort of thing at the CBC all the time, and with various bans and accusations, and what do we do? What's the situation? I stay out of a lot of those conversations and allow the upstairs to make those decisions, but they're tough when it happens. And
the thing about CBC is it's like a monolith. It's this huge monolith. and it's like a 20,000 headed monster. You never really know who, and it's not a criticism. It's just from the outside.
I know.
When you're trying to infiltrate, so to speak.
Yeah.
And when I say infiltrate, it's nothing surreptitious. It's just like, hey, will you play this song?
I know.
And it's like, you can't figure out who to ask.
I know.
And what.
I got an email today from a singer-songwriter named Royal Wood who was saying,
I know.
Like, hey, I got this song. I think it's the best of my career. I'm like, well, they all say that. And, but it's fine. And, I've known him for years. And he goes, look, I'd really love for this to chart on the top 20. I used to be on this station all the time. I used to chart on the top 20. What's going on? And I said to him, just like you, I write people back. And I said, Royal, I like the song. I'm going to take it to the music committee. We'll see what happens. You never know. And let's hope for the best, but people, like, nothing lasts forever. Right. And the CBC is a constantly moving, big bureaucratic machine, and the genres change. And CBC music used to be all about the singer-songwriter. Now it's a little more pop, a little more hip hop, a little more global, a little more mainstream. And we've got a lot of Punjabi pop on the playlist right now.
Sure do.
A lot from BC.
Yep.
AP Dillon and Karan Aujla.
And some of our stuff.
Yeah, I believe AP's from Victoria, if I'm not mistaken, and Karan's Aujla is from Surrey, and they're huge.
They're huge.
Massive. Huge stars. I mean, I think Karan Aujla was just on the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
These are big players. And so that's interesting to be playing Punjabi pop on the CBC,
I think the whole thing's fascinating. And I mean, for me, I guess the thing that, because I don't come from the music business, because I fell into it by accident, like most people who do the kind of job I do are usually failed musicians. I don't mean that in a way.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, my career as a singer didn't work out, but man, I love music so much. I want to stay involved.
Well, Ralph James is a perfect example.
Harlequin.
I mean, he was in Harlequin. He said on your show, we tried, didn't break through. Loverboy broke through. Bryan Adams broke through in that era. And so what does Ralph do? He becomes one of the top agents in the country. So, and me, the Smugglers never had a hit. I love music. I ended up becoming a music journalist. We stay in the business. I have a lot of respect for Sloan, because I recently did a thing on CBC about artists that, have maybe one or none original members left in their band. Like there's a phenomenon going on right now where bands will go out on tour with 0 members left in the original band.
Correct.
And they're called zombie bands.
Yes.
So Four Tops, Foreigner, the Blood, Sweat and Tears.
Maybe even the Zombies.
Yeah, maybe even the Zombies. They're all out there with no original members. It's literally the name. It's like a sanctioned tribute band. But then you've got Sloan, who are the 4 original guys from 1992 with no member changes. And Jonathan, I combed the catacombs of, I clawed through the annals of rock and roll.
Yes.
I cannot find a band in the world that has their original members together longer than Sloan. The 4 original guys. Now,
what year did they start?
92.
92.
So Coldplay have all the original guys. They formed in 97. U2, I thought were it, but Larry Mullins left the band because of some back problems for their Las Vegas thing. And they got some new guy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, or Larry Mullen, excuse me. And so I think Sloan has and anyone that is listening to this can correct me, but I think they've got the world
Nickelback's
record.
Close, except.
Yeah, there's always an except.
Well, the drummers have never been an actual part officially of the. Well, that's not true.
See,
okay.
So
no.
They're out of the running.
They're out.
So Sloan, 4 original guys. I think it's the longest standing original membership without a roster change in the band, in the world, record holders.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, but who knows?
Did want to say that the community thing that you were talking about with Mint definitely is important to me. I am a business guy, but I also, that stuff matters to me too. Like it really does. Like I am very friendly with a lot of our clients, and even in this building, the sense of community is really something that means everything to me.
Well, I think people know that, and what you did during the Junos with the Decades thing, that was all about community.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's known, and what you've managed to bridge is financial success and community, which is pretty rare in the music business, you know?
Probably true, you know.
Wait, why does it say Jizzy on your notes?
Because I always laughed at that thing that Mint put out where it said, "Want to talk press or promo? Talk to me, Jizzy." Do you remember that?
Vaguely. Yeah. We had all sorts of crazy.
I laughed my ass about that so many times because I never understood if it meant I'm Jizzy or you're Jizzy. Talk to me, Jizzy. Like, hey, talk to me, Jonathan. Or if it meant talk to me, Grant. Like I never understood if the Jizzy was you or the other party.
I don't know either, but we have so many jokes at Mint.
Jizzy.
And there was so much insider vernacular there that we still reference to this day. Bill has got a kind of a spotty memory, but he has an amazing memory for all these characters.
Yes.
He used to come in, like, we would do impressions of like the UPS guy. We do impressions of the guy that would make our posters. Because Bill Baker, one of the owners of Mint Records, an incredible impressionist.
Yes.
And I like making jokes all the time. So we would be doing bits and routines in there like all day long. And a lot of them, Bill still remembers. I've forgotten a lot. The Jizzy thing, I mean, I think that
was on some promo card. Like it was like a promo card you guys were handing out.
I think that we just called random people Jizzy.
It's funny. I had a call today from Chad, who's in Sudbury of all places.
Chad Kroger from Nickelback.
He's doing some acting. He's doing some acting.
He is.
I don't think I should say more than that, but
on a Taylor Sheridan show or
no, but something notable. It's interesting. Comedy. One of the people who is one of the writers on this show used to work here.
Okay.
You don't even know. Do you know Trevor Risk?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Was he in a band?
He was a musician, but that's not what he was mostly known for.
Okay.
But so turns out Trevor's on set in fucking Sudbury, and they're making Simkin jokes. So they called me to share their imitations of me, which were brutal. Because it's like, I don't know where it comes. I mean, I don't feel like I have a high voice, but like the imitation Chad does of me, it's like, dude. I'm like, I guess I say dude sometimes. I don't know that my voice goes
I might have been doing an impression of you before. Yeah, I got here first, by the way.
Yes.
To this podcast.
True.
I think I might have been doing a bit of an Jonathan impression to your producer.
Yes.
Before you even arrived.
Possible.
But so just to recap what you just said. So Chad Kroger is in a
Kruger. Just to correct.
Oh, Kruger.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for correcting me.
Hirsute. Kruger. You say tomato.
Yeah. I've always said Kroger. So
yes.
Kruger. So he is acting in a comedy in Sudbury.
Correct.
And is he playing himself or is he literally
I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay.
I just know that's where
he
is.
Is it a cameo or is he playing a role?
No, it's more than a cameo. And I'm not sure I'm allowed to, so I'd rather err on the side of not saying it.
Okay.
I have a Zoom I have to do. I'm going to have to cut this off, even though but the nice thing is we're actually going to a hockey game tonight, so the hilarity can continue at a later point.
Continue the conversation.
Unless we lose, in which case I'll be pissed.
So how are you going to wrap this up so he can edit around all the BS we talked about for the past ever?
Well, do you have anything to plug?
No.
Nothing to plug?
Well,
you have your radio show.
Okay, the only thing I would plug is that I do a touring show that is a stories and songs show that I love very much, where I read stories from my books. I get to tell jokes, stuff like that. And then my favorite musicians play songs between my stories.
Love it.
And I love doing that so much. I take it all over BC because I was a touring musician for many, many years. I only take the show to places I would want to go to anyway.
Yep.
So we do a lot of Gulf Islands. We do a lot of resorts.
Love it.
We do a lot of community halls. And it's just a nice community show. It usually does well.
What's it called? So if people see
it's very simple. Grant Lawrence and Friends, an evening of stories and songs.
Love it.
And so all sorts of great friends in the music community do it. Joel Plaskett and Ashley Ball and Dan Mangan. And so I don't know when this is going to air, but I'm doing a Christmas show at the Hollywood in December. And then we do West Coast shows all the time.
I might go to that.
Oh yeah, you're welcome to.
If I do go to it, I'm not the guy with the laser pointer, just so you know. I just want to clarify that now.
Well, you can light a candle and to celebrate your heritage.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
And anything your wife plugging?
My wife is putting out.
Well
Here's the crazy thing, and what's happening in my family this holiday season. I have 4 people in my family. There's in my immediate family. There's my daughter, my son, my wife, and I. And 3 members of the family are putting out records this season. So the Smugglers are putting out a reissue of our album, Selling the Sizzle.
On Mint?
No, it's on an American label called Lava Socks.
Yep.
My son's band, Blue Jay Valley, is putting out their first record this season.
Amazing.
He's 12. And my wife is putting out her first Christmas album called Jingle All the Way with Jill Barber.
Love it.
And so all of these records, I think it's called A Holly Jolly Jill Barber. Anyway, 3 records coming out under the same roof in one season.
It's like the Partridge Family over there.
It is. There you go. There's your rap.
There's my rap. No, yeah. I will say, because Alex always, he's been telling me I need to be more promoting my own stuff. What am I supposed to say?
What?
I think what I'm supposed to be saying here, and is if you are listening to this somewhere,
I can do it.
Grant, take it away.
Okay. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate it or review it. And your reviews may be in a future episode of I Hate Simkin. You can do that at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. 5 stars. We're going for 5 stars only. Nothing below 5 stars. It's not worth our time. 5-star reviews for I Hate Simkin. Come on.
I will pay you at the game tonight for that. I appreciate that. Grant, thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
That was a lot of fun, and time flew. So thanks, everybody. Tune into the next episode, and God bless.